Bryan Bachmann. I'm the product managers for roll-offs and refuse here at Custom Truck One Source. Today we're going to do a walk around and a simple training on the correct procedures for loading and unloading a container and tarping and untarping a container on a Galbreath U5-OR-174 and a Pioneer rack and pinion tarper. Before doing any work or performing anything, familiarize yourself with all of the controls and safety measures. Once you've done that, first step in loading a container is engaging the PTO. Once you've engaged the PTO, hold the winch off function to reduce tension on the cable. When the PTO is engaged, the strobes automatically come on and the ICC bumper folds up. After creating slack in the cable, you can remove the casting from the transport position to get it ready to connect to the container. After getting the cable ready and returning to the cab, you then pull the lever to raise the hoist. A feature on a Galbreath hoist is a spring-loaded container stop. While raising the hoist and backing up to the container, it is important to stop and leave a distance of approximately 2 to 3 feet before you hit to the container. You'll then continue to raise the hoist. At this point, the operator makes the connection to the container by placing the casting over the hook on the container and prepares to pull it up onto the truck. In order to keep the wheels of the truck on the ground and for safe operation, it is important not to lower your hoist until the nose rollers of the container get forward of the hinge, usually just past the fixed container hold downs for a visual recognition. He'll continue to winch the container on. The container will transition from the ground to being loaded completely on the truck and all of the weight transferring onto the chassis. The container, mostly on the truck, lower the hoist and then pull the container forward. The container will stop and the hold downs will be in the lockdown position. With the Galbreath container in the spring-loaded container stop, it is capable of pulling the container on while the hoist is all the way down and it will go over the spring-loaded stop. At this point, it is important to exit the cab, look for overhead obstructions, and to begin to tarp the container. You first begin by raising the arms to then raise the gantry all the way up over the container. Once the gantry is above the container, you can then use the arms to cover over, once again checking for overhead obstructions. At this point, bring the tarp arms to the rearmost point of the container and adjust them to cover the correct length container. On a Pioneer rack and pinion tarper system, there is actually a tarp bar to rest the tarp system on the rearmost point of the container. Note the black bar across the orange container. Before leaving or going down the road, it is important to lower the gantry all the way into the home position. At this point, your container is tarped and secured and ready for transport. Once your container is on, and if it does not have fixed hold downs, all of Custom Truck's hoist comes standard with rear ratchet hold down. These are used to go over the long sill of the container, hand tightened, and then secured properly with the supplied bar. Do this on both sides. At this point, you are ready for transportation. Prior to unloading or getting the container off the truck, it is important to come to the rear of the truck again, remove the rear ratchet hold downs, first by taking off tension, creating slack, and then rewinding them to the stow position. With the parking brake engaged, at this point you can raise the hoist, the container stop will automatically drop down, and you can begin to let the container off by pulling the winch function. The difference between placing or unloading a container come down to whether the truck moves or the container moves. For this demonstration, we will be letting the container place itself and the truck roll out from underneath it. We'll continue to raise the hoist and let the container come off Once the container makes contact with the ground, the weight is transferring from the truck, and we'll continue to raise the hoist and let the container roll itself off. Also at this point, it is possible to put the truck in neutral and remove the parking brake and allow the truck to roll out from underneath the container. When unloading a container, it is critical that the tail of the hoist comes in contact with the ground so that the container does not slam or drop off of it. Once the tail comes in contact, you can then use the winch function to let the container roll off completely. At this point, the container has hit the ground. You continue to separate the truck from the container. After separation is created, the operator can come back, step on the cable to create additional slack, remove the casting from the container, and then place it in the stow hook. A best practice is to place the cable over the tail roller and onto the hook for transportation. At this point, disengage the PTO and you're ready to go down the road.